Y'all get ready?
Yes, you get ready.
We are gathered here today to sip some tea, honey. So make sure you guys have your teacups ready because this tea is what? Piping hot. Hey, you guys. I hope you guys are doing good today. So make sure to check out lovelyti.net or amazon.com/shops/Lovelyti for all your tea sipping needs. Thank you guys so much for the support and stay tuned for the video. So I wanted to come on here and talk about the whole Stan Lee situation. And at first I didn't know if I was going to do a video. So if you guys don't know, Stan Lee passed yesterday. He became the #1 trending topic worldwide. And so I had posted on Instagram, you know, basically I was heartbroken like any other Marvel fan. Okay, as you guys know, I am a huge Marvel fan. I am Team Marvel. I had to rock my Marvel dress today, honey, to represent Stan Lee and represent these wonderful comics and these wonderful characters that he brought to our lives, okay? Like I said, Stan Lee was a creative legend. And he basically passed yesterday at the age of 95. When I tell you the world is literally mourning his death. It's almost like the world was at a small standstill yesterday. I got so many messages, so many DMs of people contacting me, letting me know that he passed away. When I posted on Instagram, there were so many messages. And his death really touched a lot of us Marvel fans and people who weren't necessarily into Marvel, but they knew about Stan Lee. His death also touched them as well. So if you guys don't know about Stan Lee, if you've never really researched him, I suggest that you do your own research about him. He was a man who decided to, you know, think outside the box and let his creative juices flow. And he decided to start his own comic book company along with Jack Kirby, who was the illustrator and the designer of these characters. They were creating characters at a real tumultuous time in America. And around that time, we had the civil rights movement. Black people were being attacked by dogs and, you know, being attacked with water hoses. It was a lot of things going on at that time. In America, a lot of blacks were being seen as inferior and not good as. And Stan Lee never looked at black people that way, ever. He was always against bigotry. He was against racism. And he took everything that was going on in the real world and he basically put it into the comic books. And a lot of black kids ended up being able to see characters of themselves via his comics. If you guys don't know, I found this out later on in life. But when he started the X-Men, he basically mirrored the X-Men after the civil rights movement. And so basically what he did, he made Magneto. Magneto was mirrored after Malcolm X. And then Professor Xavier was mirrored after Martin Luther King Jr., who wanted peace, who wanted to get along with the humans. And, you know, Magneto was like, you know what, screw the humans. They've, you know, killed us. They've segregated us. They treated us. They pushed us underground. I don't want to be cool with the humans. I say destroy all humans. And so that's where the X-Men came from the civil rights movement. And then from what I've heard, he started the Black Panther after the real Black Panther Party. He was so forward thinking that it's crazy. So to go from things being in a comic book to a cartoon series, and that's how I got to know about Stan Lee, and that's how I got to know about the X-Men, was watching them as a kid on Saturday morning cartoons. As you guys know, English wasn't always my first language, so the way I would learn English was by watching cartoons and mimicking cartoons and stuff like that. And one of my favorite cartoons back then was X-Men. And the Phoenix Saga is probably one of my most favorite out of all the episodes of the X-Men cartoons. They used to come on Saturdays as a kid.
Jean Grey no longer exists.
I know you're there, Jean. I can still feel you. You cannot destroy your friends.
Don't be so sure.
I love you, Jean.
So, you know, that's how I got introduced to him. I was too young for the comic books, but I love the cartoons. What's so cool is I really didn't have to grow out of it. I didn't have to stop being Team Marvel because I ended up having 2 boys. And then I was able to introduce them into the Marvel universe, into the Marvel comics and the cartoons and everything else. I remember my oldest, when I went to go take him to go see his first Spider-Man movie. It's when the first, you know, big Spider-Man movie came out. That was like back in like 2002, 2003. And he was about 2 or 3 at the time. And then, you know, it was just a good bonding experience. Me and his dad took him, and it was cool to like show the next generation, you know, Stan Lee's work and, you know, introduce them to Spider-Man and all these other characters. So Stan Lee was definitely a visionary. You know, these characters that he created, they had flaws. They weren't perfect. They were dealing with real issues. And that's what made a lot of people really connect to these characters. And then on top of that, he was somebody who spoke against, you know, the establishment. He spoke against bigotry. He spoke against racism at a time where it could have been dangerous for him. He could have lost it all. He spoke up against it, and I will always respect him for that. And that's what makes the Marvel comic universe what it is. You know, that was his whole foresight. He wanted everyone to get along, regardless if you were a mutant, if you were a human, if you had, you know, purple skin, blue skin, black skin. He wanted everyone to get along. He wanted people to see themselves in his characters, regardless of your race, your religion, your ethnicity, your sexual orientation. So he was a big visionary. And another thing I really respected is way back then, he also had Stan's soapbox. And that's where he talked about, you know, these issues that were going on in the world. And he gave his opinion and his commentary. And a lot of this stuff really resonates to this day. So he was just an amazing man. He was a creative man. And he also made it where people like me and others, you know what I'm saying, we can be creative and think outside the box. We don't necessarily have to work a regular 9 to 5. He made that okay. He made that cool. Because back then, they just wanted you to go to college, be a doctor or a lawyer. And he was like, no, I'm going to write comic books. And people made fun of him and said it would never take off. And then fast forward all these years later, look what this man was able to create and build. I'm definitely going to miss seeing Stan Lee make these little appearances in each movie. They said that he did record some, so there will be some new ones coming out with Stan Lee, but you know, once those are done, you know, that's it. So, you know, at the end of the day, while this whole situation is very sad, especially to people like me who are Team Marvel, you know what I mean, I just don't say it. I live, breathe it. I own so many things Marvel. It's insane. From dresses to lip gloss to blankets, pillows, pajamas, you know, artwork. Like, when I say I'm Team Marvel, I am Team Marvel. I live and breathe this, okay? So, you know, while it's sad and while a lot of us are mourning, I know a lot of people are breaking down crying on social media. And I'm not going to lie, when I was seeing the artwork that people were making of Stan Lee and Spider-Man, it was definitely bringing tears to my eyes. But then, you know, I want to look at it like this. His death is a celebration. This man lived to be 95 years old. You know how many people don't make it past the age of 20? And this man was able to basically live his life, fulfill his dreams, be in lots of movies. He's well known, well respected, not just in America, but worldwide, okay? So we can just only hope to make a fraction of an impact on the world like Stan Lee made. I'm so happy that I got a chance to be a part of Team Marvel, and I got a chance to witness his great brilliance in his work. So I will forever be a fan of Stan Lee. Thank you so much for your work. Rest in peace, sir. Job well done. So anyways, y'all, let's go ahead and get the discussion popping. Go ahead and leave a comment. Let me know your thoughts on this entire situation concerning Stan Lee passing yesterday at age 95. What was your favorite Marvel character? I would say my favorite character out of all the Marvel characters is Rogue, okay? I love her powers. I love her backstory. And I cannot wait till she gets her own feature, her own movie. I've been waiting for years, but I'm definitely a big Rogue fan. And, you know, all of these characters are just amazing. If it was not for Stan Lee, like I said before, we'd have no Black Panther. We'd have no Wakanda. And another thing I find very, very, you know, almost satisfying. It's almost like, you know what, he decided to die almost a year after the Black Panther movie was released. Well, this was one of the biggest, highest grossing Marvel movies ever. It grossed billions of dollars worldwide. And it's almost like Stan Lee said, you know what, this was the first Black character, and now the first Black character's movie's out. The first Black character broke records, and now my work here is done. So I'm going to look at Stan Lee's death like that. Like, you know what? He felt like his work was done, so now it's time for him to leave his physical body and move on to the next realm. So anyways, y'all, like I said, let's go ahead and get the discussion popping. Go ahead and leave a comment. Let me know your thoughts on this entire unfortunate situation with Stan Lee passing at the age of 95. All right. Deuces.
okay, true believers. Too many people don't really do what their heart's desire is, but they try to do something else because they think, well, it'll be easier to get a job or to make money. And if that happens, then when you're doing it, you feel like you're working. But if you do what you really want to do, you feel like you're playing. Hi, heroes. I'm Stan Lee, but hold the applause.
These stories were unexpected, and you never knew what was going to happen next. And that started all of this magnificence.
Hey you guys, it's your girl T, and I hope you really enjoyed that video. If you want to know more about my look of the day, or if you want a way to contact me concerning advertisement and sponsorship deals, definitely feel free to click my description box. There's plenty of information in there. Please stay tuned for the next video. Talk to y'all later.